Hello everyone, it's been a minute, eh? Welcome to the version 4 of SmartExaminer. This is the designer. You can see, this is, the version 4, and it comes with a new question type, which is the drag and drop, select and place question type. So I'm just gonna show you, briefly, how the environment is, and we'll look to explore the design tool itself in more detail. So you have your instruction as normal, you have your question, and then here you can, create your design. And you have a few options over here with the drag and drop settings to customize, what your outlay should look like, and how the examinee should essentially answer this question. So this is where you create the design. The initial tab here is where you set the initial state it is going to appear when the examinee is taking the exam. In most cases it is going to be exactly the way the design is, but if you have some special cases where for some reason maybe you want to move things around, you can do that in the initial state. And the solution is what the solution of the question is going to be. Preview is where you can test it out. Okay, so let's just go into the properties to talk about a few things. So nothing really special here apart from the partial scoring, which was seen in the previous question types. Partial scoring here just says if let me just do some simple drawing. So okay, this is one thing we need to look out for. I'm currently in preview, so I can really move things that are not draggable. So I need to come to design to be able to move it. So I'm just gonna create let's say 3 boxes. And if this is supposed to be draggable and this is supposed to be droppable, we're going to come to the concepts of draggable and droppables and a few other ones in a minute. So if, let's say, I have 2 items, ideally let's say this is supposed to be dropped on this and this is supposed to be dropped on this. If I only drop one, should I be awarded that partial score? If I get one correctly, should I be awarded a partial score, or it should be all or nothing essentially? So if partial scoring is no, then it means it's all or nothing. So if they try to drop this in here and they fail to drop this in here, then it means they failed the question completely. So that's what partial scoring is going to be for this case. Okay, let's go a little bit into the design tool. The design tool is essentially available for every other question right now from here as well. So you can always create new drawings, but this one here is specialized for the drag and drop question because it has a little bit more configuration that you could add to it. I would really take our time to talk about the design tool in another video because it is a lot, and I just want this video, sorry, to focus on the drag and drop itself. Okay, so let's start with a very simple case. I'm just going to delete these 2. I'm going to delete this as well. And essentially, in order to make us, to have a better screen real estate, I'm going to click on this to expand it out. And I'm just going to expand it so that we can see more, of the drawing area, and yeah, see exactly what we're trying to do. Okay, so by default, when you create, any item on the screen, it could be anything. Right now I'm using a box, it could be an image. We could even create, an image from canvas. You could, create a blank image and then, change out, the image later on itself. So if I click on change image, it will allow me to make changes to it. Or you could also create an image directly from file. So this, you just pick the file directly. You could create shapes. We have ellipses, regular polygons and the like. So most of this, they're gonna come in this the canvas tutorial. So I'm just going to leave this out for now. So here I'm going to just delete this. And yeah, so there are the concepts of draggable, droppable, and static. So by default, any item you put on the design area, that item is static by default, meaning that you cannot move it. You cannot also drop items into it. So if I come here to preview where I can play with things, you cannot really move anything because they are all defined as static. But if I change this one now to, you know what, I'm just going to try to identify which is which and then make the changes. So this is, I'm just going to put, this is a dark orange, but I'm just going to put orange here and yellow so that I can really identify them. Okay, so if I come down here and I see here, and then I change this, which is yellow to, drag, for instance, it means that I can move this guy around. So that's essentially what it means. Okay. If I change this to droppable, it means I can actually move this and then I can drop it into this. Okay, so most of your designs, you want to do them in the design section essentially, and then later on you move it, you can test with preview. So this is where I'm going to do a whole lot of the designs, but most of the testing is going to be done here. Okay, we're going to start simple first of all, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more advanced example, so that we can bring all of this to life, and see some kind of questions that lends themselves to drag and drops as well. Okay, so like I said, by default it is static. You can select the drag, you can select the drop, and then there is also the concept of multi. So a draggable can be multi, a droppable also can be multi. So what does it mean? It means that we can move the drag onto the drop multiple times, and if the multiple the drop is also specified as multi, it means that we can also move, the drop can also accept multiple items. So if I do this, it's dropped. If I do this, I'm dropping another one, and I can keep dropping depending on yeah, how many essentially I want. So this just creates copies of itself, but if you come to the design, it's just the two items you have. And yeah, so another thing you need to know, if I remove this multi from the draggable, it means I can only put this one and it goes in. If I make this multi and then I remove the multi from the droppable, I can try to put this, but it's not going to accept any other one. So I can take this off and then try to put it, but it's not going to accept any other one. So you can always take items out, after you put them in and you drag them out. Okay. Another thing I always advise, so let us say I move this guy below. I would always come to the design when I want to make changes like this. So this is draggable, and this is droppable. You can already see that there is a warning here. It says this item is under a droppable or static item. It's advisable to put all draggables above. So I know sometimes it can be really difficult, to arrange things. So we actually have, a button here that would do that for you. So it's just going to bring all of the draggables to the front and, arrange them in the order which we want them to be. So that's essentially what it's going to do. Another thing you can do is to adjust all droppables to fit. So essentially we require a kind of padding, which if I come down here, I try to put it, you can see the padding itself. So if you do not, adjust all droppables to fit, we're going to shrink the item as you saw before to put them inside of it. But if you want to keep the same form factor, it's advisable to just use this tool to make sure that all droppables can fit the biggest draggables. Yeah, so that is that for the drag and drop settings. The other things would most likely come during the canvas tutorial, but I'm going to now show you a few items that has already been built before, and maybe that would, yeah, let's continue without saving. I'm just going to open this file. Okay, so this is yeah, this is what I wanted to show you. So I'm also going to open this out so that we can see it a little bit more. One thing is if you close this page, it automatically goes back to the original page, or if you click the save button here, it's gonna go back to where it's docked. So I can just click the save and then it comes back here. So all your changes, you'll still find them here. So this is just a convenient way to expand this so that you can see a little bit more. So this is a sample problem in the computer science domain. It's a pretty old one, but it's one that we can get a whole lot of understanding from. Okay, so most of these items, they're either text. Yeah, so for instance, you can create a new text item, and if you create a new text item here, sorry for that brief intermission. Okay, so where I was is when you create a text, which we did from here, if you want to edit that text, you come to the text tool, and over here you can either type or delete the few things which you can do over here. If I do not want the border around it, I can take off the border. For now I'm just going to keep the border. The text tool over here, there's a lot I can do. Yeah, and like I said, most of this is going to come in the canvas tutorial, and so for now we're just going to focus on trying to create the solution for the drag and drop question. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to delete this item now because I really do not need it. Okay, so most of this item here, like I said, they're text. Some of them are grouped. Like if you come over here, you can see that this is a grouped item that consists of the picture, which is the old computer. Okay, this is this. You have computer 3, and then a little bit of description inside of the text here. I might show how this is created in the canvas tutorial, but I'm just trying to keep this as short as we can so that we don't go too long. Okay, so essentially what we want is for the user or the examinee to be able to move items from here and place them in one of this options. And how do we go about it after designing this? So what we want to do is to make sure that these 4 items are draggable. As you can see, we already named them, file server, application server, they are all draggable. and all of the place here items, they are all droppable. So that is how we specify that this is the area whereby we would need to move items. So if I come to preview now, you can see that I can move items from here to any of these places. As you can see, I can drop them here. If I pull them out, it goes back to the source. If I put any, immediately remove it, it goes back to where it's supposed to be. Okay, so for my initial state, I could leave it exactly like this. Like I said, this is going to be the use case for many. Some other persons might want to just scatter this around, and then the question is to rearrange this correctly. That could be an option. Okay, and then for the solution is how you want the solution to be. So this is the initial state, and you can see it is exactly similar to how the solution is going to be right now until we decide to set the solution. So for the solution, what we could do, let us say the application is supposed to be here, client, essentially let's just say they're flipped. Okay, what we can do is because this only accepts single items, they are not multiple, I can take these off first of all and then move these over, and then I can now move this back here. So this is me setting what the solution is going to be. For the initial, we have application here, client here, file here, print here. But for the solution, what I'm saying my solution is file, print, application, and client. And so for my preview, I can test it out to see how it is. We don't show the scores, but essentially it's just to show you how it's going to look and how the user could play around with it. But yeah, in the real sense, we would most likely want to take these off. Okay, so in this kind of case, there are times whereby you take things out and you do not want the solution to look how it is. So we have the option here to reset a solution. So you can reset the solution, meaning that it's going to go back to what the initial state is. Whatever the initial state is, that's what the solution is going to be, by clicking on this button over here. So I can now set this correctly how I want it to be. I'm not really paying attention to the correctness. I'm just paying attention. I'm just trying to show you how you might want to do this. So this is now what our solution is going to be. The initial state is going to be all of the items are out, and the solution state is going to be these are how it's going to be. Okay, so this is how you will go about setting your drag and drop question. So I'm just going to save this now, and then we can move on to the second kind of question. So similar thing, I'm going to just expand it, and so this is another kind of question that could lend itself to a drag and drop. Essentially, if I'm in the design, what I use is the draw tool to initially trace out the items which we're going to see in a little bit more detail when we go to the canvas tutorial. You can just create an item, and then you can duplicate it, so which is essentially what was done in here. So for now, I'm just going to delete this item to show you exactly what I did. So this was created and then it was duplicated. So you can duplicate with this item over here. So we duplicate it, and then we can make it essentially this one is going to be droppable, and then this other one is going to be draggable. I'm just going to undo this now. Okay, so what we have set is that the reverse map, this is going to be draggable, and then the copies are going to be droppable. So if we come to solution, you can say this is the solution. So you just set it. So this is just a solution for a particular question. So essentially this kind of question could be, let's just say, drop the reverse map onto the reverse region. So you're gonna have a number of sections, and let's say you expect the person to know the location on the map, so like we know this is Abuja, and then this is reverse, so you could ask those kind of questions if you wanted to. Yeah, this is just an example showing you all of the possibilities. So again, we have a layer 4 in here, which is the map itself, and it is static. We can really move static items in any of these other tabs except the design. So if I come to design, I can be able to move it around. So it is static, it's not supposed to move. So that is why yeah, I think I went back too much. Okay, so let's delete this. So that is why over here we won't be able to delete it. So these are some of the use cases for static items. You just want them to show up on the screen, but they're not really supposed to be movable. But for the drag and drops, you want to be able to drag and drop. Yeah, so regarding the marking for this, the system automatically does the marking. It creates what we call a deductible based on your solution, which is like the number of items that are in droppables, and then it uses that to calculate that deductible, and then it is that to also calculate if the user gets it or goes beyond. So for instance, let's say you have a multiple droppable. I'm just going to do something simple right now. Okay. Yeah, if you also noticed, we changed the icons for the question types. So yeah, all of the questions they now have unique icons, but that's besides the point. So so let me say I'm having this and for some reason, let's say this guy layer 8 is a droppable and it is multi, but this other one is a draggable. I'm just going to adjust this to fit, and if I know that my solution is just one item, okay, well, for this to work, I'm going to have to make this multi. So for this to work, I would have to make it multi. So my solution is just one item. Okay, that's what my solution is. If for some reason my preview, I come here and then I add multiple items, it is going to look at the deductible for this and then use it to deduct all of those solutions which I added that are different from it. So essentially I have one more item in here, and because I have one more item in here, I'm going to get a 0. The calculation is a little bit more complex than that, but yeah, the system knows and does the calculation based on the value which you specify. It creates a deductible from your solution and compares it with what the user has put and where they put it to calculate if they're going to have a partial score or a total score. Also regarding your setting here. So if your setting is partial scoring yes, then it means that if the user gets a partial score, they're going to be awarded that partial score relative to what the total score of that question is. Okay, so I think this will most likely be the end of this drag and drop tutorial. We're going to talk a little bit more about the design tool in another video.